Yo, oops, wrong one. There we go. Hey, y'all, what up? We're back with another progress report. Dankula is not here yet. Yet, hopefully. Hopefully, he's on his way. He did tell me he had a 7 o'clock meeting today that he didn't think was going to go, 7 o'clock London time, that is, that he didn't think was going to go that late. But hopefully, he shows up. I did confirm with him yesterday on Twitter, so I'll be surprised if he just doesn't show up at all. But I am joined here today by Murray Allan, who is also a Scotsman like Dankula. It's kind of the Scottish invasion show today. Some of you guys might remember years ago, I made a video that was called something like Scottish High School Goes Full 1988, or wait, is it 84? What is it? 1984, right? The Orwell book.
84, yeah.
Yeah, it's been so long since I read that. Anyway, he's the guy who got kicked out of school for saying that there's only two genders in Scotland. And since then, he's kind of dipping his toe into the content creation game himself. And from what I've seen, I think he's got a bright and promising future. So we're happy to have Murray Allan here on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I got your message when in response to that last interview I posted. You said that I should keep it up, so hopefully there's more coming. But
All right. Well, no time like the present. My audio's only on my left side. Oh, hold on.
you can
Yeah.
hear me good, yeah?
Hold on. I can fix that. Let me know too if if our mics are balanced with each other. Down mix to
Yeah.
mono. There we go. That should
The
fix
breakout's
the
good now, so I can hear you all right.
All right, good. Yeah, let me know if I need to adjust anybody's mic volume, but let's just get into we'll get this party started here. We got a banger right off the top.
Should you cut off contact with family members just because they are voting for Donald Trump? Yes. If so far they have not been able or willing to listen to compassion, to listen to kindness, to listen to you, or even to do their own research and discover that hatred's not the answer, that love and kindness is the answer. If they are unwilling to change, they must experience consequences. And you should not withhold those consequences from them. The consequence in this case would be they don't get your beautiful, loving, wonderful presence in their lives.
So, I mean, this is kind of your wheelhouse because you got started down this, whatever you want to call it, this path through the gender ideology stuff. So this whole, and I know some of your videos you've been doing are like LGBT pride parades and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on this? I'll let you go first. Wait, are you there? Or are you frozen? Oh, hold on. He dropped, but he's back. Hold on. Okay, Murray.
Oh, sorry about that, man. You started playing the video and everything shut down on the studio, so I just left to rejoin.
Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah. So you didn't get to watch the video then?
Nah, right when you click that video, it just your screen went black, the thing went black, and everything shut down.
Right,
So
I'm gonna play it again just as a test here. We'll see if it happens again.
It's over. And they are gone.
Did you get that?
yeah, all good now.
Okay. Oh man, tech issues, always a good time. Anyway, so I'll give my take on, we don't need to replay that clip. I'll just give my take and say that it's textbook grooming, it's cult leader behavior. When you got somebody telling you to get away from your family, that's like textbook cultish behavior. That guy who we were watching there, Jeffrey Marsh, he has like a bunch of videos where he complains about people using the term groomer or grooming, and he's like textbook though. This is as grooming as it gets.
Yeah, well, you see someone like that, and it's like the alarm bells start ringing. But in a society that we're currently in, everyone will walk around that person, treating them like they're normal. It's like if you had kids, you wouldn't let them go near that man, quite frankly, let alone listen to what he has to say, especially on social media. Obviously, I didn't see the clip, but I take one look at him, so.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, all you need to do. You were saying that you see a lot of people like this in Glasgow, is it?
Yeah, obviously, like before you played the clip, I saw the photo, but I was just telling you before we started how I'm in Glasgow now. I'm a student here, and I don't think a lot of the Americans know that how woke Scotland is. In America, you obviously have the divide, like in California and in places like that, it's super woke. Scotland is like the wokest country I've ever been to, and if you go to Glasgow, just like I was telling you, you'll see guys like this all the time, everywhere you go.
Yeah, that's wild. All right, let's see what else we got here.
And they are gone.
Oh yeah, I got a message to Nick Fuentes. Nick, I like you, but I need to maybe revisit and rethink some things.
Tyre Nichols says the men in Scotland have been wearing skirts for a long time.
He's not wrong about that one.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. My American Express got shut down yesterday, randomly. No reason, swear. It's okay, like I have some people I'm gonna call and get it unbanned, but they just banned me randomly from American Express. Swear to God. All my life. I'm not even joking. I swear to God. I don't know if I'm banned, but they said some stupid shit happened. Swear to God.
All right, that's Aiden Ross. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's a really big.
I heard about this recently that he got banned from all of his banking.
Right. He's a really big streamer on Kick, like really big, like one of the biggest. And he recently did a couple streams with Nick Fuentes, which was a crossover that I don't think a lot of people had on their bingo card this year because like Aiden Ross is Jewish and he's not really a very political guy either. Nick Fuentes is like the foremost anti-Semite of the internet. If you listen to the ADL and those types of groups. So, but they did some streams and Aiden was like enjoying himself. And then he gets a letter from his bank. Yeah, your accounts are closed.
I mean, that's the sort of line in this band. It seems like when you get over to sort of Nick Fuentes territory, like Aiden, from what I know, he hangs out with a lot of the right-wing guys, but when it comes to the people super critical, maybe even over super saying whatever, like Nick Fuentes, that's where the line gets drawn. I remember Andrew Tate, he got all of his banking things shut down. It seems it's only when you're talking about Israel and the Jews that sort of takes place,
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of people on the right and their banks aren't getting shut down.
We used to talk about cancel culture a lot, and people don't talk about that much anymore. But this is this is textbook cancel culture again, losing your bank accounts just because you talked to somebody and you weren't like, fuck you, you're horrible, get out of here. Like, that's all it takes. All right, bad news, everybody. I got a message finally from Dankula. He says, in hospital, family emergency, I'm so sorry. And he sent me a picture from where he's at in the hospital. So that's a big bummer, but that's life. We'll just have to make do.
Oh, that's well, hopefully everything's all right with him and his family.
Yeah, for sure. That's the most important thing.
Hi, bro.
I think I didn't.
You think you what?
I think I didn't grab it. My wallet.
You didn't grab your wallet?
Right.
Okay. How much you had to drink tonight?
I'm not sure.
Not sure how much you had to drink tonight?
I have
Yep. Okay. All right, Robert. So, how much you had to drink tonight?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure, but a lot, right?
Probably.
Okay. Do you have any friends in the area that can come pick you up to get you out of here?
I don't think so.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that if it's going to cause distress, and it depends what
Sorry, I was
context you...
texting
So you're-
back to Ankula there. I don't know what even to say about that. There's some real weird.
Wasn't that guy like a police chief or on the force, right?
What's that?
That guy, I'm pretty sure in that video, he was like working for the police department, no? The guy
No way,
recognized him.
really?
That's what I think. I saw that video, and when I was like looking into it, apparently the dude dressed up is a police officer.
Hold on, man.
think-
Pulled over in lingerie. All right, so there's a video from a month ago. Worked for police.
Where was he driving to?
I'm not sure. I think this is the. Oh, this is a YouTube video here about it. I'm just seeing if there's any news. Robert, whatever. I don't know. I'll take your word for it, man. That just makes the story that much funnier, to be honest.
I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it, but I think he like knew the guy's name. He's talking to him on a first name basis.
Yeah, you just want to rewatch it, you weirdo. No, we're not doing that.
Not only did he get caught, but that thing's online forever now.
Yeah.
Friends in the area, they can come pick you up, get you out of here.
Well, some of those types, they like the exposure.
Yeah, I think that's why they do it. It's for the
Or
humiliation.
willing to listen.
Shoot, I hit the wrong thing. Hold on. All right. This one is out of the UK, I believe.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that if it's going to cause distress, and it depends what context you...
So you're
obviously why you would say that to someone.
so you're the police telling me that saying God bless you can cause someone distress.
Okay, but if you were to say that to someone who, for example, is a Muslim, and if you're going into their face and then saying that to them, knowing that they have their own beliefs, then yes, that is.
And
So he said if saying God bless you causes distress, then that can be like criminal activity in the UK. And I was hoping to have Dankula here for this one because it's kind of, he knows about that. He knows about having the law come down on you because somebody was offended by something you do. But obviously it's insane.
Yeah, that's why you can't put these hate crime laws into effect. Obviously, Scotland recently got the new hate crime bill or whatever put through, and it's like it's so interpretive that someone saying God bless you if it offend, you know what I mean? There's no line in the sand.
Right. It's just how somebody else reacts. And the thing is, too, let's
anything
be
you say can
honest,
cause someone.
it doesn't go both ways, right? If a Muslim says like, Allahu Akbar to me, and I'm in the UK and I call the police and tell the police I'm offended, they're not going to go arrest that guy, right? There's this very weird, like self-loathing anti-white thing that you see in a lot of countries, but the UK is particularly badly afflicted with this.
you work for the police.
Yeah, of course.
So the police are saying that it's a crime to say God bless you to someone.
Sean, you wouldn't get arrested if it wasn't causing distress to other people.
So you're saying, for legal purposes, that it's a crime.
And like they do like these call to prayers in the UK right now, where they're all out in the street like praying, and it's like, again, okay, well that distresses me, so now what? They're not going to do anything.
Also, they would only enforce this if you're like part of a protected characteristic. If I were to if someone verbally went into me, said whatever they wanted about me, and I went up to a police officer, they wouldn't take this like serious. They wouldn't do anything with it. But it's if you're one of these people, the type of people I'm talking about.
Right. No, that's the ultimate hypocrisy, because they say, there's these protected categories, race, but not white people, religion, but not Christians. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're just a regular dude that has nothing visibly wrong with you and someone insults you, and you go to the police, they're not gonna listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
If it's causing distress, then yeah.
What's your name, please?
Medina.
Nadina what?
We don't give our surnames, but I've got my shoulder number.
I don't know, man. Just a little musical break there, a little sign language. What do they call that? ASL, American Sign Language. It's American, all
No,
right.
that was a good one. I needed that one. That was a good
Yeah.
one.
Something a little lighter.
This unassuming 1,100
Oh, this is like the most Canadian story ever.
square foot home in Calgary's Northeast has a unique selling feature. It comes with 13 bedrooms. According to the listing, the main level has 6 bedrooms, with the basement featuring 7 additional bedrooms, totaling 13.
I think that's the first house I ever heard. Like, that has 13 bedrooms. I've lived in Toronto, then I moved here. And that's the first, I mean, like, 13 rooms? How many people must be living there? Like 20, 25 something?
A tenant of this home we spoke with, who did not want to be on camera, confirmed that the place is for sale with numerous showings throughout the day.
Our house is like almost exactly the same. It's just like right over there with the tree.
And how many rooms do you have?
We have 5 rooms. So
So where would you fit the other? Oh my!
almost 3 times now, so. But that's crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did it again. I cut the clip kind of short there, but they interview another guy in that news clip, and he is also Indian. So and you know, whoever's putting 13 bedrooms in a normal size house, that's also an Indian, and they're gonna sell that house to Indians to live in. So that's why I said it's the most Canadian story ever, because there's just been this like massive influx to the point where you have Canadians on Reddit posting like how pissed off they are, which it takes a lot to make a Canadian kind of cross into that racial territory. I wanted to ask you, Murray, what's the situation like in Scotland? Because we see stuff out of Ireland all the time with the nationalists and the immigration. We see it in the UK, but I don't hear that much from Scotland. Is it less of an issue there, or?
No, it's a massive issue. Like I come from a like small Scottish town in the northeast of the country. So growing up, no, there was no issue whatsoever. But you make your way, like in the United Kingdom, it's different in England. In Scotland, it's not so much a problem in any of the rural areas. But the second you go to a city, it's jarring. You know, I look out my window now. I live in like the south part of Glasgow. It's you know, super high immigration population. I look out my window, there's people dressed in full burqas everywhere, just down the street from me in Govan Hill. You go to that part of the city and you wouldn't think you were in Scotland at all. You're the minority, walking around large parts of the city, you're a minority racially. I just had a plumber in my house and he was telling me, we got into a conversation. He was telling me how some of the houses he goes to, they'll have a 2-bedroom house, and these guys from India, Pakistan, wherever it is, they'll just put mattresses all over the floor. Right. Half the apartment they'll cover in just mattresses. Nothing else is in the apartment, and it's just full of guys sleeping, you know, on mattresses on the floor.
Yeah, flop house basically. Do you guys have any kind of like much of a nationalist scene? Like, do people march and kind of counter protest against that stuff?
So in terms of like you'll get a lot of Scottish quote unquote patriots that if you were to ask them, yeah, they love Scotland, but their actions would say anything but that, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I know the type.
If you walk around Glasgow, you won't see a Scottish flag. You won't see a Scottish flag anywhere. Just outside of one of the main universities in the city, Strathclyde, they have their flagpoles outside their campus. Not a single Scottish flag, but there's, you know, LGBTQ flag. There's the Ukrainian flag, and I think like a Palestinian flag. You walk up to
either that or the Israeli one of the two. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like so in terms of a lot of Scottish people are very proud to be Scottish, that sort of thing. But when it gets to the whole, as soon as you start talking about the immigration, being critical of it whatsoever, talking about the Scottish flag, like that sort of thing, then you get lumped into the sort of nationalist far right very quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
no, I know.
And
next thing you know, they're charging you with a crime just for training your dog to do something funny. Yeah.
Well, literally, yeah. When I lived in America, I've been around, and
Okay.
yeah, Scotland for sure is the most jarring that I've been to in a city. Obviously, you go to London, it's worse, but yeah,
It's depressing.
it's like it's depressing, man. It sucks being in the city. I have a Ukrainian flatmate, and he came to Scotland, and he says like, this isn't what I expected at all coming here. He was like, he's like, how have you let this happen to your country? That's sort of his mindset, you know.
So you have.
We have 5 rooms. So
So where would you fit the other? Oh my!
almost 3 times now. So but it's crazy.
On the floor until she tells me I can get up.
All right, so here we got a they them at Target or something like that with her service dog, and somebody was like trying to pet the dog, and she's like, no, I have to stay on the ground until the dog tells me to get up. Is what she just said. Hold on.
Can I get up? Crackle. Focus. Please don't do that. She is a working service dog. Distracting a service dog is a class 2 misdemeanor in this state. Focus.
Chew my ass.
Yeah, well, she's currently working, and distracting her is a class 2 misdemeanor. Focus.
Distracting her is a class 3 misdemeanor. This is exactly the kind of person who was like a tyrant during COVID. You know what I mean? Who went around being like, hey, you're not wearing your mask. I'm going to call the police. Some people just love to enforce rules on you, even though they're not going to physically enforce them themselves, obviously.
They have zero virtue whatsoever, half of these people. Like nothing that they have is like makes them a good person whatsoever, and so they just have to go around their daily life searching for little things that makes them feel like they're full of justice and virtue when they're not. That's the only thing that motivates that type of fucking insufferable behavior, I feel like.
Yeah, and I don't know where this is. It's kind of giving Canada, but it could be the US or who knows. But there's a good chance that there's like taxpayer funding going into this chick having her service dog, right? Like that's going to be supplied by the government. And it's like, cause I have anxiety or what, you know, it's like, come on. My tax dollars should not be paying for people to have pets.
Especially that person, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're talking about a blind person.
If it's a blind person or someone heavily disabled or like an actual brain problem.
Yeah.
Focus. That's good.
Smells like poo-poo says the dog protects you from her.
Also, why is she recording this interaction?
Right. I didn't even think about that. That's so weird.
And then when the camera's on, she gets into the thing. That's a misdemeanor. That's, you know what I mean? It's so obvious.
Yeah. Weird.
Oh, I hate advocating.
Many years from now, when you're old and gray with your grandchild on your knee, and she asks you if you cast your vote to save democracy, will you answer yes, I did my part, or face her bitter scorn when you confess to her you spent the day smoking weed and watching porn? You'd better vote.
So that guy's like a famous actor. I lost his face there, but I'm trying to remember his name. Somebody in the chat tell me this guy's name again. But he was like on Parks and Recreation, this respected sitcom. I don't watch sitcoms personally, but a lot of other people liked it. And he plays this kind of manly man figure. And then now he's doing like these weird songs about you got to go vote for Kamala to save democracy instead of just spending your whole day watching porn and smoking weed, which I got to say, he knows the target audience for Kamala voters. Nick Offerman.
I don't know if videos. Yeah. It's parody though. They're not expecting to actually sway anyone with that.
I mean, no, I don't think so, man. I could be wrong, but I think this is like genuinely supposed to motivate you to go vote for Kamala.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, with that target audience, maybe it'll slap. I'm not sure.
Yeah. He also was in the HBO series The Last of Us, and they had like a whole episode devoted to two gay dudes being in love with each other, and he played one of them. A lot of people at that time said that this is kind of like because he was like that emblem for toxic masculinity or whatever, they had to like tear down that idol, or however you want to say it.
Like the Joker movie.
Yeah.
But
Don't get me started on the Joker.
off the couch, or those kids will give you hell when they learn Grandpa was a slouch. They'll kick your bony shins, they'll put mud in your Depends, and tell all their shitty friends you didn't vote. And we get it.
Yeah. Let's just keep going.
An email 3.5 hours out, and 3.5 hours after the interview, they cancel shows. Read the exact email, because they're canceling my shows, but they're also begging Live Nation to not cancel future shows with them.
So that's Andrew Schultz. He's a big podcaster and a comedian, and he did a podcast recently with Donald Trump. And right after finishing the show, some of his comedy shows from his tour got canceled.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I actually met Andrew Schultz when he came to the city. I snuck backstage actually into the green room and I got to meet the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool actually. But I mean, I don't think that'll affect him too much. I'm a big fan of the sort of comedy scene. You know, the podcast that they got going. But Andrew does all this stuff online. I doubt it'll hold him back at all.
Yeah, kind of cancel proof. It's just crazy though. Like you can't talk to a presidential candidate. Like, okay, Nick Fuentes is one thing. Now we're talking about a presidential candidate and you're going to be like, no, we won't do business with you. You had too much fun talking to Trump.
Yeah. Also, he didn't come across super pro Trump in the interview. It was pretty balanced.
Yeah, he was kind of seemed like
I mean?
he was trying to be entertaining from what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was it specifically that canceled him?
It was some venue where he was going to do the shows. I think I cut the clip before he gets to that. So I don't know exactly.
Still want business, but they're like, just not this guy. Now, I don't know if it's a Trump interview, but the day before it came out, we were ready to go and we were going on sale this week.
But it is crazy. Like, he had one hand on the... What the... Oh my God!
Yeah, this one's crazy. This is the one that finally convinced me and my wife to order a dash cam. Watch this car cut in front of the other one and then slam on the brakes.
Oh my God!
And now watch this.
What happened, babe?
Oh my God, what is he doing? Babe!
Babe, what happened?
Oh, shit. I don't know.
Babe.
I got into an accident. Oh my God.
That's just insurance.
Oh my God, babe.
Road
I'm on the
rage.
Bell Parkway. This guy just reversed into me. What the hell is going on?
Reversed into you?
Yeah.
And then it turns into like this clown car scenario where
Babe,
more and
babe.
more Mexicans start coming out.
Stay there.
They're all injured.
Oh my God.
Where on the Bell Parkway?
Oh, holy shit. You know, after that turn?
Look, there's still
Yeah.
more.
Oh my
Babe,
God.
it's okay.
Yeah, so get a dash cam, you guys. Like these are people out here. They're trying to do insurance fraud. They're trying to sue you, and it's gonna be hard to prove what happened if you don't have that recording. There was another one we looked at yesterday on my show where a bicyclist was like accusing a driver of driving too close to him. But the driver had he got charged with a crime based on what the cyclist said, but the charges, from what I understand, got dropped because of his dash cam video.
Yeah, I've seen a few. I saw one recently as well, like a Chinese guy tried to get on like A-Leaf, just jump on top of the bonnet of the car.
Yeah, many such
So, yeah,
cases.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
gotta
dash
get, when
cam.
you're living in clown world, you gotta have a dash cam. That's just where we're at now.
Hold on, okay? Fuck.
Now they're all recording.
Oh, fuck. Wait.
The United States has recognized the voyage of the European explorers who first landed on the shores of the Americas. But that is not the whole story. That has never been the whole story. Those explorers ushered in a wave of devastation for tribal nations, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease.
So that's our requisite Columbus Day post from last week. What's funny about this to me is that isn't her campaign slogan or one of the slogans, it's like turn the page or something like that. And she likes to say, what is that fucking line? She like, imagine what could be unencumbered by what has been or something like that. And it's like, well, apparently we're not that unencumbered if we're still talking about 400 years ago and how horrible the evil white man was, you know?
I don't understand how she's a candidate. From someone who's not invested, obviously, I'm not an American. I have no idea how she's a candidate. Every single video I've seen her in, I don't understand how anyone has sympathy.
Yeah, well, she was installed as a candidate, basically. They made Biden drop out, and then they just put her in his place. Usually there's like a primary process. The DNC delegates would go and like vote for what candidate. And of course they did that when Biden became the nominee. And there's a bunch of other people vying for the position, including Kamala, I think. And then she got 0 votes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she wasn't, but.
Do you see any in-person support in the United States for her? Like, do you see people with the billboards, the flags on their car, whatever?
No, and I live in a blue state. Yeah, no, I don't think I've seen. I probably have seen like 1 or 2 signs downtown, but
yeah, because you see the polls that the whatever mainstream media is putting out, and all the polls I see like them like neck and neck. After the first debate or whatever, I saw like some saying, like, if the election was to happen and Donald Trump doesn't win by a landslide, just from the things I've seen, I couldn't believe that it's going to be that close. But all the polls are saying it's close, and I'm like, where's the actual support for the lady?
We got a lot of really brainwashed people. We have people out here whose minds are just broken. I think COVID was like the last straw for a lot, and now their minds are just broken. There was a video, I don't think I have it in here, but this boomer saying he's going to vote for Kamala, and he's like, Trump's a felon. I hope the next assassin gets him and shit. Like there's people who are just deranged when it comes to hating Donald Trump. Nobody really likes Kamala, but a lot of people really hate Trump. The media did a number on him.
You ask them, or if you pull the like layer of the onion back with these people, whether it's like people who support Kamala or any of this other crap, like you go back, if you're talking to them in conversation and you just ask 2 questions, everything unravels and they have no answers. You know what I mean? Oh, who are you voting for? Kamala. Why? Because and they'll say some bullshit statement. Oh, well, why is that statement true? And then it all falls apart. There's no critical thought behind these people. I genuinely can't imagine someone who votes for Kamala Harris. I've never heard a good critical argument for why they support her, ever.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've seen some people who are kind of articulate when they say why, but there's like a lot of coping, like, oh, it's not her fault the economy's doing bad and stuff like that, even though she supports all the same policies. But you're absolutely right. The average Kamala voter has never thought about anything other than how important it is to have abortion as a protected constitutional right.
Yeah.
We must not shy away from this shameful past.
We must not shy away. Again, what happened to what can be unencumbered? I forget how the line goes now, but you guys know the one.
Hello, ladies. I'm Trey. It's good to be here.
Hey, Trey.
Hey.
So, what do you do and how much do you make?
I work in finance, making 6 figures.
How tall are you?
6'5".
Okay. Do you work out?
I like to stay active, yeah.
Do you have a plan to vote?
I didn't plan on it.
So that's a campaign ad from the Harris campaign targeting black men who they're doing worse than the Democrats usually do. That's how bad Kamala is they have to try pandering to black men. They're trying white men too. It's a huge fail. But in this case, they're like, yeah, if you don't vote, you're not going to get laid. That's the level of politics we have in the US now. It's not about, here's why these issues are important, the policies, the platforms. It's all about just pandering to your little niche groups and in whatever will work, right? So, hey, black guys, you're not going to get laid if you don't vote for Kamala. That's where we're at now.
Yeah, off like a fake scripted dating show.
Yeah.
For a US president.
Yeah, exactly. That was scripted, just to be clear. That wasn't like some candid thing.
Yeah, the standards have slipped so much where you see that and you're like, oh, of course that's a fucking campaign ad. And then you go back 10 years and you're like, wow.
Yeah, things have changed.
That's how far things have fallen. Yeah.
What explains why Trump is doing so well among young men?
Well,
we have one here.
We
have one.
I think it's a sample size of one for too long. For too long, I think the Democratic Party has had this idea that compassion is kind of a zero-sum game, where somehow if we are talking about the fact that we have a mental health crisis among young men in this country right now, if we're talking about the real needs that young men face, that somehow it's to the detriment of other people, obviously mainly women. And I just don't think that way. I think that we can care about everybody. And I think for too long, there's been a stigma. There's been a stigma around talking about helping, those people, because obviously for thousands of years, talking about men was to the exclusion of women, and I understand the fear around that. But we have to end this taboo, or else it's going to be detrimental to the future of the Democratic Party, because we have to have, both men and women.
So that's David Hogg of Parkland School fame. I'd like to get your perspective as a young man. You're in the demographic we're talking about. So everything he says there, I'm like, yeah, of course men deserve to be considered as well, and their problems should be considered. My problem though is that he didn't say it in this clip, but a guy like that, when you ask him what to do, he's going to be like, oh, we need more mental health funding. You know what I mean? We need to send all these guys to therapy so that they stop being suicidal or whatever. And I don't believe that works. Or even if it might help a little, it's not effective, right? What men need to be able to be men. Men are like spiritually soul crushed because we live in such a feminized society that you're not allowed to like manly things. And we'll see that when we get to like the Kamala ad that's coming up a little bit later. But what are your thoughts on that? Either, this specifically, or just the mental health crisis, if you will, in general?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing I was saying earlier, where if you're not, identify as trans or LGBTQ or whatever, and you're not an immigrant or you don't have autism and you're just a regular young guy, the problems that you face instantly are considered insignificant in comparison to the ones that, I was just mentioning. And so, in my sort of social group, a lot of my friends, just regular dudes going about regular life that don't have any of those, points that are wrong with them. Yeah, the young guys are suffering tons right now. And, you get friends over and you have these private conversations. And as soon as you get into a private conversation with them, everyone's talking about the same thing. The same things that you're critical of. Young guys are just seeing this and like, well, what is like the future I'm going into? All the institutions that any young guy's in, if you're in university or if you're just starting out, all these rules apply, right? So if you're a regular guy who has regular beliefs and you understand all this shit is bullshit, you have to put up with it on a daily basis, and you have to hold your mouth on a daily basis, right? If you're a university student, every day you're going to be seeing this stuff, and you have to turn a blind eye to it, because the second you become verbal, you get attacked. And so I think, a big issue for young guys now is actual issues. When people talk about them, they're not taken seriously. And also
right,
just
right.
like
That you're exactly right. And this gets to the whole like therapy is just this magical cure all that will fix all the problems. It's like people like this, they're not willing to acknowledge what the problems are. The problems are you're canceled for not having the right opinions. And when I say canceled, I mean like in your case, kicked out of high school because you said there's two genders to your teacher. That's insane. You know, and if you're white in particular, there's also this like heavy anti-white thing, which is extremely demoralizing for young men, being told you should be ashamed of your ancestry, your history. We just heard it from Kamala Harris like 30 seconds ago. What your people did was horrible and brutal, and we should never forget. And it's, of course, it's just white people kind of singled out in particular for those brow beatings, those demoralizing brow beatings. So people like Bill, what's his name? Meyer, and David Hogg, they can't address the issues because to them, those are not issues. You're not, if you're white, you're not supposed to care about your ancestry and your history, or even more, you're supposed to be ashamed of it, basically.
Yeah. And a lot of the issues young guys are facing are actually caused by the other side, caused by the therapists in the offices, caused by all this shit being peddled. And so that's another thing that sort of goes against it in terms of anything actually being done. And you know, young guys, right? You want to be in a position where you're responsible, confident. You know, you have this vision of someone who's doing well, right? Walks into the room, shoulders back, a confident, well-spoken person. And what you find now with young guys, any country, any city, you walk around and you look at the young men, they're the opposite of that. They have no responsibility in their life, right? Oftentimes not even necessarily through a fault of their own. And so they just go about life drifting in the wind. And any guy, frankly, knows that that's when that dark feeling, all the dark feelings you feel as a guy, it's oftentimes when you're not doing anything, you're not working towards anything. And young guys now have, you know, nothing, that sense of responsibility that was instilled in young men in previous generations. Like, look at a photo of some of the young guys in World War II, just any photo of all the guys lined up in the trenches, 19, 20, 21-year-old men, and just look at them, look at their faces, and walk around the city today and look at the young guys coming up. You know, they've had none of that confidence instilled in them. They've never had to earn any of, you know, any virtue. And you take one look at people and it's obvious. Just like that first guy, you know, I walk around Glasgow and half the guys I see are wearing makeup. They're walking around confident. They can't hold a conversation. And like I'm saying, the solutions to those problems are not being addressed because the solutions are the opposite of what the other side is pushing.
Yeah. People need to man up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like they're like, don't say that. Don't say man up. Say like it's okay to cry. And it's like, no, it's the opposite. Yeah. You need to get your shit together. You need to take control. Yeah. When you take control of your own life, you'll be ready to take control of your community and start pitching in that way. Yeah. Men need to be going to the gym. They need to be drinking raw milk. They need to be going to church. You know, all these things you got to do. And even then, like it's like you said, you still have to have some kind of purpose, some kind of larger project or goal that you're working. I really agree with what you said there. It's very important that you have something that you're working towards. You have like a kind of horizon that you're aiming for. And a lot of people in this world, they just have no direction at all.
Yeah, and they just sit and smoke weed every day and their life wastes away. But deep down, everyone wants, you know, to be responsible. People want other people to be dependent on them one way or the other, especially guys.
Yeah, and porn too, weed and porn, and that's another thing. Like Bill Maher here, however you say his name, he loves porn. He thinks it's great, and it's like this is just another thing that is keeping guys depressed, basically. I really think watching porn every day is like a recipe for depression.
Just everyone's just dopamine. Like that's the other thing, like the dopamine system in the brain, how that's been like manipulated by all the devices and stuff. People have no attention span nowadays. Like if you speak to teachers now talking about kids in school, I read this forum post of a young teacher who's been working decades. And she's saying the young kids now in schools don't have the same motor function. They can't throw and catch a ball. They can't talk out loud. And so it's like, and I remember reading that, like these are the kids right now in primary school or middle school, whatever you would call it. And that made me like terrified. Like these kids are like not having the right development because of all this modern bullshit. And so the problem is like, it's almost like every year it gets worse and worse. If you're in university, every year you get the freshmen, right?
Yeah,
and you can see it year by year. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. And you're talking about the sense of responsibility and like sort of being in control. And that's completely brainwashed out of you from a young age. If you're in school, all the teachers are telling you, if you get hit, come to us. We'll solve it. You don't solve the problem yourself. You can't solve the problem yourself. Come to us, come to us, come to us, right? And so from a young age, people aren't sorting any of their own problems out. It's this whole dependency on the state that starts from a young age. You're dependent on your teachers. You have a problem, come to us and we'll deal with it for you. And now it's like we have no self-defense in Scotland. If I were to get punched or hit and I were to hit back, I have an assault charge instantly.
Really?
And so it's this
no self-defense.
Absolutely no. Unless it was like a severe case, and for example, if you come back to your house in Scotland and someone's inside it and you go in and you were to kill that person, you'd get done with murder because they would say, well, you didn't have to go into the house. You could have called the police or whatever. And so what you have now is this absolute dependence where people can't solve their own problems. You get hit in the street, you have to call, the state. The state has to solve your issues. And this, I think it's purposeful. And it, again, takes away from the individual responsibility, affecting young men even more, right? These little things in day-to-day lives that you should be responsible for, people aren't even taking control over anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah. What you said about kids not knowing how to talk, that's so real, man. It's something about being on the tablets and the devices all day where they just are not comfortable speaking out loud, and they're just like super shy, and they end up like that chick with her service dog, just crumbling at the thought of having to have a conversation with a stranger or whatever it is.
Yeah. And also, just in order to have a conversation, you need to be like stimulated mentally. You need to have that dopamine reaction in the brain. Young kids now, working in a restaurant, you'll see a family come in and they just have the iPad in front of the kid. And, they're eating their dinner. They don't realize the damage that's being done. Meanwhile, this kid's staring into a screen, getting so much dopamine from that iPad or whatever, that regular conversations, normal people, guests coming over to the house, gives them no stimulation, no level of focus or interest. People are just dopamine the fuck out and can't enjoy day-to-day stuff, can't enjoy simple conversation.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we spent enough time on this one, but that was a good little talk there.
And women. That's now bankrupt because the owner got sued for defamation for telling so many
lies.
The most
anti-establishment free speech organization in the world
the freedom
is
of speech guys,
InfoWars.
The freedom of speech guys.
That's why we get shut down.
True, exactly.
That's why
it wasn't for telling.
Of course. You want to know what happens when you speak truth to power? Everything this guy just said. I've been censored. I've been imprisoned. I've been assaulted. I've had my businesses shut down. This guy's dealt with nothing except cucking to his wife's boyfriend.
Emotional damage.
That's the requisite weekly Destiny cuck joke. We had a similar clip last week, and I was surprised because my guests were kind of like, oh, that's too easy. It's getting old. Come up with some new material. And I'm just over here like, I will never stop. I will never stop calling Destiny a cuck.
Dude, I love that guy, man. He killed it. That's like the other thing, like people like Destiny, we're just talking about Kamala Harris. People like Destiny, I don't understand how that guy has such a massive following. Like, I do not relate.
Yeah.
I do not relate any of
again, it goes back to like the porn is part of that because his lifestyle is like very promiscuous and liberal, and he's open about that, right? And so you have these young guys who are hooked on porn, and they're looking at Destiny and they're thinking to themselves, this guy's living the life. Like this guy he makes so much money. He has to sleep with all these e-thoughts. Like that's what I want. And it's like, if you only knew how ultimately empty that is, he just got divorced from his wife. He has a child from a previous relationship who lives with the mother. This is not the life you want.
Yeah, no, it's a mess. It's an example of how not to be.
Right. Which is why I think it's important to shame and stigmatize him every chance we get. So this is in either Korea or Japan. I forget which one. And it's just kind of your typical TikToker being annoying in public. But I think the reason this clip was getting so much traction on Twitter last week is because their culture is a lot more reserved over there. So this kind of behavior that would seem commonplace in New York City is a lot more people. I think that people would consider it more disrespectful, right? Because it's like you're going to this other country where they don't do things like that, and you're almost doing it to get a reaction out of them.
Yeah, no, it's insulting. Yeah, it's like this is one of the things like Europeans will criticize Americans for, being like culturally unaware and sort of being loud and arrogant. Mm-hmm. That's true to a certain extent because Americans are so detached from the rest of the world, right? But this is just taking it to another level. Like that's insulting. If you were to go to a country like that, and so you're just being an asshole, and he knows it. He knows by posting it that the reactions are going to be. I think I've seen like 5 different clips of this guy doing the same thing.
We've heard a lot recently, haven't we, about how weight loss drugs can have a dramatic impact on individuals who take them. This is the government talking about what it says are the potentially monumental impacts that could be had with the drug being prescribed more widely, not just on obesity itself, but on its huge impacts on the NHS, the burden on the NHS, and on people's productivity.
So we're back in the UK now, and they're talking about a new government program or a study, a trial program to inject obese people with what's it called, Ozempic, basically, so that they lose weight, so that they stop being such a drain on the healthcare system. Obesity, I heard this stat, I think it might have been in this clip or somewhere else, but obesity costs the public healthcare system in the UK more than smoking.
Yeah. And so they'll pay more taxpayer money for Ozempic, which again doesn't solve the root cause of the issue of obesity.
That's a hard one, though. It's a hard one without regulating the shit out of the food industry. Personally, I think we could use a little more regulation. Personally, when you see a Dunkin' Donuts cup that has like 47 grams of sugar in it, or it's like, that should be illegal. That's literally like double your daily dose if you're a big male. They shouldn't be selling that shit, but it's hard. It's hard to like, sell that to people. Like, hey, we're going to control what you can eat. Especially Americans, they don't want to hear that.
Well, 75% of what's in the supermarket isn't food. You know what I mean? And it's like you'll have the cigarette warnings, but you won't have this has. Everyone talks about how 100 years ago they were dying of lead poisoning and how dumb they were with lead pipes and lead cans.
Yeah.
And I think like 100, 200 years from now, they're just going to look back on all the stuff that's in our food now with the same, sort of reaction.
Yeah, you're right. They should put on candy, they should put pictures of like big fatties getting lifted up with like cranes because they can't move. And just be like, eating too much is bad, okay?
They should do that, though. They should have the ultra-processed section of the supermarket. They should have signs up saying, these products cause cancer, these products affect your fertility, but they don't.
No.
A government doing something like that makes a lot more sense to me than fucking Ozempic jobs for fat people.
Yeah.
Free Ozempic jobs.
And ability to work. Now, this, as you say, involves the drug tirzepatide. It's sold under the brand name Mounjaro. It's a weekly injectable pen. And after the government's investment summit yesterday, it announced a £279 million investment from Lilly, which is the company that makes the drug. And according to reports this morning, that is going to include a trial taking place in Greater Manchester in which up to 3,000 obese patients, a mixture of those in and out of work and on sick leave, will be given the drug over 5 years to see if it improves their productivity. And it has a monthly cost of about £120 per patient.
Yeah. It's not the worst thing out of these clips. Like, if it works and it does save money and it gets these people healthier, that's not a bad thing, but there's just something so dystopian about it. You know, there's something like we're living in WALL-E. We're living in that movie, man.
Also, isn't it a brand new drug? Like,
I guess so.
Do they have like long-term stats on how effective that is? I don't know. It's just like the whole, like, I don't know. I don't see the effectiveness of like the tummy tuck surgeries where you know, they'll help, but it's not going to cause the root issue. And it's like, if it's done with taxpayer money, it should be addressing the root cause. So
yeah, you're right.
We've had a massive attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion. That should outrage all of us as Christians, because we are all a recipient of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Remember, it was diversity that took the gospel from the Jews to the Gentile. It was equity that Jesus died on that old rugged cross to equally pay for my sins and your sins.
Okay, let me stop you right there, because that one's really telling. Equity is when one person dies so everybody else can live. Yeah, who in the actual equity program, who's Jesus in this metaphor? And it's like, it's the white people. Like, she's literally saying we need to put white people up on the cross, metaphorically speaking, so that everybody can be equal.
I don't know. These American these like hardcore pastors, they all just chat so much shit. You know what I mean? I don't take any of it serious.
Yeah.
It's one of those, you only see it in America as well. These like pastors getting out doing these motivational speeches, chatting absolute nonsense.
Yeah, but I mean, it is, I'll say this, it is another angle of attack that's corroding society, because the Christian doctrine kind of like built the West of the last 2,000 years, built the civilization that we know and love, and gave us our morality and all. And so the fact that it's being like subverted and loosened and, actually just be nice to everybody, this kind of like doctrine of niceness that you get from pastors like this, it is just one more like spoke in the wheel of progress, you know?
Yeah. It's not good for Christianity, these people.
No, it's not.
God Almighty, it was inclusion that God, before our mama met our daddy, had already included us in his plan of divine sovereign salvation. So Bethel, will you help me by voting and blocking a shot and voting to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of these United States of America?
I've already pressed charges on her for fucking revenge pointing my ass.
Are you a King Cobra JS fan?
I have no idea who that is.
He's just this guy who like streams like all day on YouTube every day, and he drinks alcohol, and people like to like clip him and, you know, make fun of him and stuff like that. And I guess he got into like a relationship with another YouTuber, and then she revenge porned him. And then he went to the police and reported her for revenge porn. I haven't seen the photos or whatever it is, you know, so I can't speak to that. And I'm going to try to avoid that as much as possible.
I had a nice little conversation with the Casper Police Department about that. I wake up this morning and people are like, "Oh my God, Josh, Jessica's revenge pointing you. What me and Jessica did on camera, allegedly, is fucking private. And I would never revenge."
I like how the allegedly. What we did on camera, allegedly.
Porn Jessica, no matter how mad she made me. Because I'm the more mature and bigger person. And the fact that Jessica Boyle can't stop talking about me on her fucking streams, and she's trying as hard as she can to use me for clout, and then wants to accuse me of all the shit she's doing in that letter. Reading that letter was just so laughable, and the fact that she took time to write the letter out.
That man is suffering, bro.
Yeah, no. I mean,
The whole revenge porn thing is just a fucking target for him to throw a dart at, but that guy's just suffering.
Yeah, well, he's also clearly a little bit touched, you know, like he's just not like there's some people who you just know they're kind of not going to make it, and it's sad, but if they're going to put themselves on the internet all day every day and turn it into a spectacle, I'm going to tune in and watch once in a while. Sorry.
Oh, he loved that, man. The fact that clip's out there and got him views, bro. He'll probably love that.
Yeah. So this one got a lot of traction on Twitter, a lot of discourse around this one. Women hate this guy. They're saying, put men like this in jail. You wasted 3 years of her life, which I get. You know, I do think it's a shitty thing to do that to somebody. Obviously, we haven't heard the guy's side. We don't know, you know, what he would have to say for himself.
Yeah. The fact that he left a note, I thought was a pretty much asshole move. But then the fact that this girl's made this video the way she's made it makes me think that guy was probably completely in the right. I would have sent a text message if I was that guy, not even written a note, man.
Yeah. So when the police try to charge him for being a fuck boy and wasting her time, he's just going to show this video as Exhibit A, Your Honor. Look at what I was dealing with. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Literally.
For getting rid of the competition. More stuff for me to steal. Ha ha!
No villain is safe from me, serpent.
I'm not a villain, I'm a transvestite.
Explain that to your maker.
I'll take it from here, Batman.
We used to be a proper country, you know?
Oh, man. Yeah, America's slipping so bad, bro. It was when I was a kid, I used to want to live in America, and now I go on Twitter. I need to put my phone down. I'm like, what's happening across the water?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't make shows like this anymore.
Yeah. Didn't it just ended, right? Simpsons?
Did it? I
think they just finally finished. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of about time. Let's be honest. Has anybody watched The Simpsons in the last 5 years? Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen a new episode of The Simpsons in the last 5 years. Anyway, I love these videos. The black guys doing their swimming training in the army. There's like a whole series of these clips coming out now.
What's he have to do? Just jump back in?
Yeah, he's got to jump in, and then they're gonna like rescue him. He's scared though, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know what it is, man. This is like one of the great.
I was about to ask, what is it? Like,
it's one of the great racial mysteries of art. It's right up there with why don't they hear the smoke detector chirp? Why are they so scared of water? Nobody knows. You know, scholars have debated these issues for decades, and we're nowhere near solving them.
There is no point, because even black guys in this, they admit that they have issues swimming largely, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is there any known theories? Do they?
I've heard some wacky ones. I've heard something about how, like, you know, in Jim Crow America, they weren't allowed to use the swimming pools, so it never became part of their culture because they weren't allowed to go. I don't really buy that. I remember another one too. Somebody was saying that like it's something to do with their density, which is honestly a little bit more plausible. I don't know how much difference there is in density.
What's going on with their density? Yeah, their bones or. That's interesting.
Yeah, body fat percentage.
When you know how to swim, you see people that don't. It doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy to me to see an adult who is like scared of a swimming
It's
pool.
like it's so easy though to just. I don't know. I don't know how you don't know how to stay above the water, man.
Yeah. So one of the theories that people are saying again is that they have less body fat, so it's harder for them to float. Which, again, maybe that's part of it. That's kind of plausible. But I feel like you should learn how to swim. You know, the thing is you can say, okay, it's a body fat thing, but it's also like they don't get put in swimming lessons when they're kids. You know what I mean? Which is like that's like a life skill you're supposed to impart on your children. Your children should know how to swim.
Especially if they are suffering from lack of density, or if they're too dense, then there should be a higher motivation for them to fucking learn how to swim. No.
Yeah, it could save your life. You know, you should know how to ride a bike. You should know how to ice skate. Do you guys skate in Scotland at all? Do you have ice skating over there? Hockey?
No, it's not big here, no, but we have it at Christmas and stuff. There'll be a nice little rink for people to skate on.
Yeah. Another thing that black people don't like doing as much.
Believe it or not, you were swimming.
So this was an ad. This was like promotional material put out by Customs and Border Patrol in the U.S. to say that they were helping with the hurricane relief. They're here to help.
Yeah.
And everybody was laughing at this video because it's like it's a perfect illustration of government efficiency, right? Like hire 30 people to move a log 10 feet. You know, one guy and a wheelbarrow could have moved 8 times as many logs quicker than that. But that's the government for you.
Literally. It's like we were talking about the NHS earlier. If anyone has any qualms about whether or not healthcare should be socialized, just look at the British healthcare. It sucks. It sucks so bad. It's like, it's a good metaphor for it. But
I grew up in Canada, so I have experience with that as well.
How is it in Canada? I'm curious.
You know, when I don't remember it being bad when I was young, like a kid in that, but obviously you're not that tuned in. But there's one of the big problems is you can't find a family doctor. Like you can't have a general practitioner. There just is none. There's like a big shortage. So then because nobody has a doctor, everybody goes to the emergency room whenever there's a problem. And so you go to the emergency room, you're going to be waiting like 6 hours to talk to somebody because there's always this big lineup.
Yeah.
And they started suiciding people a lot in Canada.
I heard in Canada you're killing thousands every year.
It's wild, man. The reasons, the list of reasons, like if you're poor, you can say, I'm poor, kill me. And they'll be like, all right, get in the chair.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's a dangerous road to go down when you start killing your own citizens, you know, as part of healthcare.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they're calling it, but assisted suicide.
No, they do call it healthcare, and they'll openly talk about how like this is going to save us so much money in our healthcare system, you know? Like it's way easier to kill a depressed person than it is to treat them for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, in the UK it's the same. Like if you go to a GP, you have to wait weeks they'll give you like something to do and you have to do it for 2 weeks, and if that doesn't work, only then would be referred to a specialist. So if you have like a mole that has a issue or whatever, you get a GP appointment, that'll take a week or 2 weeks. You'll meet the GP, they'll see it. You say you have some skin issue, they'll say, all right, rub this cream on it for 2 weeks, and if that doesn't work, come back. If it doesn't work, then they'll say, okay, I'll refer you to a specialist like a dermatologist, and you'll be waiting 3, 4, 5 months to see that person.
Yeah.
And also, like the
Have
waiting
you tried
times.
Drinking water for 2 weeks? Go drink water and come
or change your diet or whatever. And also, the waiting times are so large here and the government, the Labour government, wants to take even more migrants in, and obviously all the migrants that they take in get put on the state healthcare.
Yep.
So, you know, you're having this state healthcare that everyone's complaining about that apparently needs so much more money, yet the same government that is going to solve the problem makes it worse by putting way more strain on it. It just doesn't work.
And a lot of those migrants, they end up on welfare. So it's not like they're paying taxes into the system. They're taking money out of every end. It's just like, you know, that. I don't want to use the wrong kind of term, but I'm thinking of words like leech and parasite right now. I don't want to get too controversial, 100%. But it's hard not to see it that way.
It is. That's exactly what it is, yeah. And that's exactly what the government want as well. They want people to be more dependent on the state. They know that if they take people in from these countries and get them dependent on the state, that puts them in a position of so much more power. The more of the population is dependent on welfare, dependent on the state, the more power they have. And that's exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So we're just fucking over the.
Screw that guy! Name someone funnier than me, Stan.
Hurley?
What? No! Women aren't funny.
Yeah, I included that one because the guest was supposed to be Leonardo Joni. There was like, it was a shit show this episode getting it together, but she's a female comedian, so that's why I put that one in there. Joker says women aren't funny and shoots the guy.
This might psych out world, but black people is the real Jews. Okay, so go. Do you know black people start wearing tzitzis? Start wearing tzitzis. Go follow the Bible. Start doing what the Bible says. If you say that you're Jewish, start doing what the Bible says. Black people is a real Jew. So, very good. Start following the Bible.
Pretty good response from the Jew. You got it, because this guy's going, black people are the real Jews, and he's like, well, why don't you dress like you're supposed to in the Bible and shit like that?
Yeah, I went to New York for the first time last year, and I remember I saw that like Jews dressed like that for the first time. It was the most gnarly thing. I guess it's we don't have Jews like that in Europe, I don't think.
Yeah, we don't have them in most places in America. New York is kind of a special case for that.
Oh yeah, dude, it was gnarly. I remember we had no idea where we were. We were like, what's happening? Who are these people? And then you realize they're just, I don't know, regular Americans.
So why you want to steal this thing on me or something? Free Palestine, man.
This lady.
Sir, do you mind me?
Oh, this is the guy. I didn't know I had this clip in here. This is the boomer who's voting for Kamala here that I was talking about earlier.
Asking like, why are you voting for Kamala? Do you mind me asking you, why are you voting for Kamala?
Mainly because she's not Trump. Because I think he's a thug. He's going to sell out.
Like, you think we're better off now than we were 4 years ago?
You're damn right.
I'm not.
He's going to sell out.
I can't even afford.
Ukraine
I can't even afford
to the goddamn Putin. His buddy.
Biden and Harris are the ones who started that war.
Moderating.
They're the ones, and we're paying for that war.
And the border is over.
We didn't have a war with Trump. Trump showed us for 4 years. We didn't have any wars.
He's kissing ass with
He's
Trump.
not kissing anybody's.
He was elbowing that Ukraine guy in the ear there 2 weeks ago.
That's because like he said when he said if he gets
I hope to hell somebody kills him. We need a better class of assassins. Well, that's what we need.
So speaking of Kamala voters explaining their reasons, there's a classic example there. Trump's a thug. And hopefully somebody kills him, you know, and also talking about war, which is like a totally uninformed thing.
You kind of have to feel sorry for the guy though. Like if you think about it, with the way the whole mainstream media is set up now, old people have no chance because they're not on Twitter, they're not scouring information. You know, old people forever, they'll read the headlines. You can
tell when somebody just watches MSNBC or CNN. You can instantly tell when you talk to somebody like that. But I mean, look, I don't want to be too cynical or incompassionate here, but I'm just saying, day of the pillow when these people. I mean, there's a meme I saw that like captures it perfectly. is like a military dude, and they're like dropping a grenade down the stairwell. And on the military guy, it says boomers. And then on the grenade, it says voting for Kamala as one last fuck you to their kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing though. Like I said that the whole thing with social media, but at the same time, he's from the good generation, a much better generation, you know what I mean? Or supposedly so. So he's gone through his entire life and he still has that lack of critical thought.
Yeah, well, it's because it's the mainstream media as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. No, nowadays, in order to get like to good information, you have to scout. You have to really like kind of deep dive just to get to the more truth. Like older people, they don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
They're not getting better.
No, that's not how we do. That's not how we do politics in America. We don't shoot each other.
Case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up, so we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work, there wouldn't be a problem.
All right, that's insane. That's former President Bill Clinton saying that the problem is it's too hard to vet them, and if we like I think he kind of misspoke, but what he actually says is like if we take the time to vet them, they won't kill anybody, but we're not going to have a population replacement like we need. I mean, just saying it right out loud, like we need to replace the population with immigrants.
Yeah, and it's the other thing again about not addressing the root cause. You know, rather than setting up initiatives to increase, you know, the birth rate of like the citizens of the country, there's no push for that whatsoever. You don't see any of that to support the nuclear family, and for the, you know, I've heard of different countries having incentives to have more kids. You know,
yeah,
get
places
grants
like
from the government.
Poland and Hungary, I think, are doing stuff like that.
Exactly. So there is a solution, but they take the problem and then they'll say no, the solution is
people are saying it's not really making much difference from what I've seen. I think it's better than nothing for sure.
Also,
I'm not sure
economically,
I'm not sure that the economy is really the root condition of why people aren't having kids. Do you know the Mouse Utopia experiment at all?
Yeah.
I think there's too many people, and we're living in Mouse Utopia. And what happened in that experiment, right, is this guy set up this like enclosure for the mice to live in that was supposed to be able to support 64,000 mice or something like that. And what happened was they got to like half of what the place could support, and they all went insane. So my big takeaway from that experiment is that we're not meant to have too many people. It's like, this is going to sound kind of new agey or whatever, but us humans, we're kind of like in tune with Mother Earth and Mother Nature. And when there's too many of us, it's like something like says like, okay, shut it down, slow it down. And I think if you just let the population kind of collapse the way it needs to, that would be addressing the root problem. That's my crazy theory on the birth rates, but people don't want to hear that. People just want to hear that we just got to encourage people to have kids or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually going to do one of my next street interviews. I was actually going to go to a uni college campus because, you know, Elon Musk has brought attention to it a lot recently, how the population is declining and the issues that face that. I was going to go and talk to like just young people and ask them how they feel about wanting a family, because I think it would concern a lot of people, because obviously I speak to people about this. And the average girl, the average guy, they're not thinking about having a family. They're not thinking about having kids. A lot of people will just outright say, no, they don't want kids. I would say maybe a majority, which I think is actually really concerning, that you have the majority of the young people of a country not even thinking about the family.
It's very concerning, and not even just on like a national level of like, well, we need to replace the population or maintain, even on an individual level. It's like, that's like the best thing you can do in life is to have a family. you're missing out on so much if you don't do that. It goes back to what you were saying about having responsibilities, right? At this, when we're talking about men, that's like one of the biggest responsibilities you can have, and it will make you a better person. It almost has to, if you're made of the right stuff, right? It's like a trial by fire almost when you have kids.
Makes you a better person too. Like I'm a young guy. I don't plan on having kids anytime soon, but I absolutely know, God willing, that I want a family in the future. And when you have that set in stone in your mind, it makes you a better person, because you know that you're going to be a dad one day. You know that you need to become the type of person who could raise the type of family you want. When you have no desire to have kids, it's evident in the behavior of these people, you know?
Yeah. And it's so crazy too when you think about there was this meme called ancestor math or something like this. And it's like, okay, you have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great grandparents. And if it goes back like 10 generations, you have like 10,000 ancestors, you know, all these people who lived their lives so that you could exist. And now you're just like, well, we had a good run. I'm going to opt out now. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. And also just the putting off importance over the job and everything about family. Like, you wonder why so many people are like directionless. Like, oh, what do I want from my life? I have no idea. And they have no direction to go. And it's like, it's very simple when you know you're going to have a family. Everything else sort of goes around that. But, oh, I'm going to have a family. That's what I'm going to do. And then your work and everything else is just balanced with that. I think the difference between wanting a family and not is a very different life to live.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I'll even say one is right and one is wrong. I don't see it as like you do you know, different strokes for different folks. I'm like, no, you don't want kids. You're living wrong. I'll say to someone.
Also, the reason some people will give people, I've heard this so many times, like, oh no, I wouldn't want to bring kids into this world.
Right.
Or the world's fucked, you know, climate change, the world won't be here in 100 years. I don't want to bring kids into that. And I think that's like such a sad mindset that a population can has, that they, you know, you look around and life is pretty good. If you look out the window and you turn the computer down, life is pretty much better than it's ever been for most people. Yet they're so brainwashed into thinking that the world's on this destructive path. And it's like, nah.
Yeah, people are just mind fucked, you know. The climate change thing really did a number on people too. You're right about that. And I think we're winding down here. I think this might be the last clip of the show. Let's see.
Hey, this is the International Cat Expo.
So I guess this was just something goofy to end. You know what? I'm not even going to shit on these people. After everything else I've seen today, like whatever, you want to go do meow karaoke. That's like the least crazy thing I've seen today. So I'm not even going to make fun of them.
Honestly, it's refreshing. It's like, it's draining when you're like, it's one thing to watch these people on video. If you go to a pride parade and interact with these people for hours on end, it leaves you spiritually drained. So yeah, no, thank you for putting some cat karaoke up at the end.
And speaking of like the pride parade stuff, we're basically at the end of the show. Oh, we'll do super chats first though. Let me check real quick. There wasn't too many, I don't think. Where's my YouTube thing here? Let's see. Okay, we got $10 from Lord Sneed, who said you are based. And then I think I saw like 1 or 2 power chats. Squirrel Jack live from the Shardy said, Miga, that's nuts. Miga, that's nuts. Hello from the Shanty. Shardy. Miga, that's nuts. Miga, that's nuts. Okay, thank you for the $3. Anonymous Dragon said, how far are you from the goal to do a call-in show on Saturday? I think like $600. So fortunately, we're not going to hit the goal this week, which is exactly how I want it. And that's all I see. Did I miss anything on Rumble? Yeah, no, I think that's it for today. All right, Murray. So why don't you tell people where to find you? Of course, I put links to his Twitter and YouTube in the description, but tell people where and maybe why they should check you out.
Yeah, sure. So check me out on X. That's probably where I'm most active, _Murray Allan on X and YouTube as well. Yeah, just because of my background, I've experienced what happens with this shit being punished, being expelled from school. And so I've gone out and I've started interviewing people, sort of peeling back the onions of people's thought. I've gone to some Pride Parade shows and I went to one of Tommy Robinson's protests. So I'm trying to flashing these people on their bullshit a lot of the time.
You've had some really viral clips. What was the one where the chick is like, she's talking about homophobia and you're like, you experienced that? And then she says something like, well, mostly from myself.
Yeah. Well, they're saying I would open my interviews with a lot of people and so talking about, the hate. And I just questioned, well, where is the hate? And she couldn't answer it. And that clip was hilarious. But yeah, like when you go to these places, the Pride Parades, you just need to hold a microphone in front of them, and half the shit they say is going to be a viral clip, because it's so nonsensical.
Yeah, where's the hate?
Yeah, so I do
well, it's internalized. It's me.
Yeah, she admitted that it came from within.
Yeah,
her brain finally started working.
Man. And thank you for the $20, President-elect Pressure 609. I'm still poor. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for supporting the show. Murray, this has been a pleasure. You did a great job, man, for somebody who's not a podcast veteran here or anything. You really helped carry the show in Dankula's unfortunate absence. I'm sorry, everybody, that Dankula couldn't be here. He had a family emergency. He's texted me from the hospital. We'll reschedule with him. Originally, it was supposed to be Dankula and Sargon. So now I'll try to make that happen in a couple weeks or whatever. But Murray, you were great, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing that.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me on. It was good fun. So
nice. All right, everybody. That's it for today. You guys enjoy the rest of your day and we'll catch you later. Peace out.